Humor. I know of a person, Tom Henry. I won't say he's a good friend of mine, but we have a great relationship. And he's actually taken the trainer class with me and his son as well. And Tom is the funniest guy in the world. I mean, I never seen anybody could every sentence could be a joke. And I thought, wow. And I've never seen him teach. But there are people who are just naturally joking people. And so you got to be careful that you don't take something that you're very good at and be able to end up I think humor needs to be used. Everything is a strategy. You use it at a time, but be careful that you're not like always saying a joke every single time, because then it gets a little tiring. Yeah. I'm not saying Tom Henry's tiring at all. I'm not implying that. I'm just saying, talking about the characteristic and how amazing gifted he is in being able to take anything and being able to spin it around, and you're like, this guy's a hoot. All right, let's get back to the slide here. You can make fun of yourself, but never a student. Right. And I think what's that word when you make fun of yourself?
Self-deprecating.
Self-deprecating? Deprecating.
Be very careful how you say that.
I think I do that a lot. I mean, because really, I'm not that smart. I'm really not that good. I would say the only quality that I have, I think that I could say you're good at, is that I don't stop. I will never, ever stop. Everything else, I rate a 5. But being determined, focus, it's like anything in life can be good and bad, right? I'm focused. Okay? So as I'm talking about in most people's lives, I'm really not that good at what I do. So I'll say things about myself, but you're not going to say something about somebody else. Okay? So you can make jokes. Well, I'm not really smart about that. And that's okay, but not for somebody else. You can make fun of yourself, but never a student. Be careful about teasing students. As you get in a class and you get to know some people, you can tease certain students. Right. There's a little bit of a risk there in that the student that you're teasing, you two guys have a relationship, and it's kind of cool. Not a big deal. But other people might not understand that relationship, and they could misread what you two guys are. Men have a tendency to be pretty tough on men, and women don't really are like, why are you guys that way? And they don't understand that we're like, what? We had a problem with each other. I love the guy. He loves me. Well, I wouldn't have thought about that. So if there's women in the class, that would be also be very, very careful when you kind of beat up a buddy of yours and you're kind of teasing them. And also, even if not, then other members of the group could say, I don't think he should have done that. I think he hurt that person's feelings. Brian?
I have a great example of this. So growing up, one of my absolute best friends was Cuban. And so we had all these, we'll say, racial or ethnic jokes between us. I mean, we were very good friends. So it was all in fun, and we're guys. And we were someplace with a group of other people, and we're just kind of bantering back and forth, and highly offended a girl that was there. I mean, like, highly offended, and we didn't even realize it. And I mean, after the fact, I was like, I never thought about the fact that somebody wouldn't understand our relationship and not realize that how we were talking to each other was not really intended to be serious.
Yeah, because guys are guys. Yeah. We're going to tell you this. And they go, yeah, what about, anybody didn't understand that, especially a female, because they think differently and they would never act the way we would act to each other. And so just be very, very careful. But even if it's just a whole class of males. Yeah. People don't understand that relationship, that unique relationship. So just be careful when you're teasing people. I'm probably not very careful when I tease people. Just saying, that's probably not I went up 5 out of a 10 on that one. Yes.
Well, and Mike, when I worked for Dow Chemical, I worked mostly internationally, and so I worked with a lot of different cultures. And oh my gosh, just stay away from any and all humor when you're dealing with other cultures, because it's all different everywhere you go.
Okay. Continue on humor. Don't build a presentation around jokes. You can tell a joke. You can be silly. You know what I mean? You kind of loosen up the class a little bit. But not if they're sexist jokes. Not if they're racist, including slang words, including off-color words, or political. I mean, these are just things that are, listen, you can do all these things if you want to do all these things, okay? But not if you're an instructor. And there could be settings that all these things are wrong. But, sometimes, we do stupid things. So maybe it's a good idea to work on these things. Slang words. And this is not even a humor. Just let's talk about the word slang. I'm probably going to talk about it again. But a slang term is a term that's used by a small group of people. And within that small group of people, they understand the context of that word, where other people could take that word and be offended by the word. So you got to be real careful when you use slang terms for things.
Well, the other is also idioms. I was teaching a class once, and
Well, hold on. Make sure, Brian, you get to whatever he's talking about. What's an idiom?
Okay, I'll give you the example. I said, okay, just give me a number off the top of your head. So it's instead of saying give me an estimate, I said give me a number off the top of my head, and a German gentleman got confused and looked and said, "But I have hair on the top of my head." And so we say things without even knowing it.
In other words, I understand what you're saying. You have to have that experience of that culture to understand that idiom, which
Or
is...
if you say give me a number, give me a ballpark. What? Give me an estimate.
Some other language called... Yes, Brian.
Well, obviously you can't know all of these things, but just know that, sometimes...
You know how you would learn these things?
By screwing up?
No. Yes, by screwing up, but you know how? By doing a survey.
Right.
Having an evaluation.
Right.
That somebody tells you like, oh, I offended somebody?
Right.
By doing that. I would never have thought that.
Right.
That's where the evaluation, that's how you keep improving. Brian?
Kind of along the same lines, when I went over to England to go to college, we speak English here, we think, and they speak English there, they think, and a lot of the words mean completely different things. So, I get out of the airport and go to the taxi, and he says, all right, put your stuff in the boot. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Put my stuff in a boot.
What happened to me when I was in New Zealand? I was for the World Championship, Barefoot Championships, and I got there and I'm sitting in a New Zealand family because I lived with a family there, and I'm sitting and they're all talking, and I said, hold on a second. I know you guys are speaking in English, but I have no clue what you're talking about.
Right.
They were using words that I didn't understand the meaning of the word. So for us, we can be exposed once in a while by being exposed to different culture, but your students, like Eric said, you got different cultures, different people. Let's learn that maybe people don't understand, like, I wonder what that meant. And once you start getting, I wonder what that meant, for me, I'm lost when I don't understand what you mean. So I'll move on. I don't want to spend any more time. Back on being careful. Idioms. Thank you very much. Moving around the class, 4.5. Don't sit. Move around the room so people will have to keep an eye focused on you. Sometimes when I'm doing these programs and explaining about how to be a great instructor, I'm explaining about the world that I'm thinking. But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are not living my world. In other words, some of you guys are teaching 2 nights a week. You know what I mean? So you have to take in context a little bit. 2 nights a week, I can see there be places that I might sit down, but that's because I gave you something to do, not while I'm up doing my presentation. That's when you're working an exercise or you're in the lab and you're doing something and I'm sitting with somebody and we're kind of talking one-on-one. So then I would use my time. So I don't mean you have to get in the classroom standard the whole time while everybody's doing stuff. I'm just saying when you're up and you're making your show, you're on, okay? That means you're on. You're watching, you're aware, you got a program, beginning, a middle, and an end, and you are focused. And then when you get done with that, well, then now you can kind of relax and do those little things. So move around, because when you move around, people are like, they're watching. You don't want to just stand there. Do a video of yourself. It's very interesting to watch people, how they stand and what they do. Sometimes they go like this. They move around here, and then they move over there, and then they move over here, and I don't, so it can be distracting. So moving around should be a natural thing. And when you move, you're moving with purpose. There's a reason that I move over here, and I look at that person there, and I go over here, and I back up there, and I'm like, and you guys, so think about what you're doing. There's a point. Too much erratic movement can be distracting, so watch for that. Use a bar stool. Lean on a stool to rest your feet. I always have a bar stool at every one of my seminars. And I don't mean a big fan. It's just something that I can just kind of lean back on to take the load off of my legs. I'm usually teaching 8 hours. Okay, and it can be kind of taxing in there. So I just kind of, and when I lean, whenever I would never, it would be the rarest event for me to be really presenting and sitting on a bar stool. It would be all of a sudden you're asking me a question, and I then sit back, I put my hands there, and I'm listening to you, and then you are talking to that person, and then that person's kind of communicating with that person, and I'll interject a little bit. So I think what I'm doing there is purposely I'm trying to pull away from me, and I'm allowing the class to grow a little bit and allow them to do some dynamics. And then all of a sudden what happens? Boom, I'm back in again. I'm in charge. You guys, quiet, let's move on. So you can sit back on a bar stool. I would never sit down on a chair. Never sit down on a chair. Any feedback on that, guys? You okay with that? Ryan?
Yeah, if you're teaching a college or something, I would agree. And if you're presenting, what a normal class like you're doing in the photograph, then I agree 100%. There have been instances where a company has hired me to do an 8-hour class for them, and I walk in and it's 5 people for 8 hours. And for those, I've sat the entire time. And it was intimate, and because at a certain point when you're, if you've got 5 people, then I think sitting down is probably more effective.
What you're saying
But
is
that's
that
the limit,
what you're saying, you're aware that I'm trying to stand up because I'm trying to command poise.
Right.
I'm trying to take control. I'm trying to keep you guys engaged. Obviously, the larger the class, you're up on a platform.
Right.
You now put it on a screen. I mean, you're trying to keep it all going there. But there's a point like, wait a minute now, you get 5 or 7 guys.
It's almost
spot there.
pretentious.
Just sit down and we're
Right.
all kind of just chilling out and get your code book. Here, let me show you that I can reach you. I can touch you.
Exactly. Right.
Okay, very good point. Take a look at this picture here. Watch how I use my PowerPoint here. I'm going to come over here, get my little guy here, and I'm going to get a felt tip pen. And you'll notice right back here, there's my bar stool. I'm not sitting on it. I'm up. I'm moving around. And look what I did. I made sure the size of the platform, you can't see it, but this platform goes from here to here. Right. So I can walk that direction, and I can walk this direction. So be aware. Names. I am terrible at names. As a matter of fact, and I can't figure out exactly what goes on, even in the DVD recording, I cannot remember your name, and I cannot remember your name. Sometimes, and I'm trying to say maybe because it's Ryan and Brian, and Eric is not a problem, but maybe because the names are close, and I'm probably mixing the names sometimes, and I'm looking at you and saying Brian, and I'm looking at you and I'm saying Ryan. I mean, so when you get pressure, my brain is going a mile a minute. Somebody introduced themselves. Hey, what's your name? And they tell me the name, and within 2 seconds, I'm thinking, what was his name? Mm-hmm. He just told me his name. And sometimes, okay, his name is this. This reminds me of my son's old friend. And then I'm like, what was that name? So I think it's great, and some people have the ability to be able to remember names. Now, you got a class, you're teaching 2 nights a week, but I got thousands and tens of thousands of people that I've seen, sometimes for 30, 40 years, and I can't remember their name because I see them for a fleeting second. So if you can, remember the name. Get name tags, a way to communicate. So when you see the person, oh, yeah, of course, it's Joseph. I know Joseph's name, but in a classroom setting, you can easily forget names that you would have known in any other setting. But it really makes it nice when people have their names used. Use table name plates. We have them here even in our presentation, because it helps. We did that specifically for the people in the video, but in reality, I use them. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's it. It actually doesn't.
We're swapping them.
Yeah.
During lunch, we are
I'm
swapping
over.
them. We are totally swapping them.
Next one, name badges. Excellent. Very, very great for the instructor to be able to see the name of the other person. Not the ones that make holes in the clothing. Sometimes they'll give me this name badge, and I'm supposed to wear it, and it has a bobby pin, or not bobby pin,
Safety pin.
A safety pin, and I'm like, I got a very expensive suit. I'm not punching holes in my suit. So give me a lanyard or give me, you know, something that can clip on there, or they know who I am. I don't even wear it anyhow. You know what I mean? So just be aware of name badges. We always use ours that have clips in our company seminars. Participation. Student participation keeps everyone involved and motivated to learn. Of course, you got to be watching them to know if they're participating. Student participation is the fastest form of learning, and they remember more when they engage in the process. Eric?
Learning is not a spectator sport.
Okay. Yeah.
You-
You know, one thing is, and I think probably most people that way, you can tell somebody something. But if they can, you know, I can talk about grounding and bonding, and I can tell you, listen, if you drive a ground rod and you run 120 volts to that, and you put an amp meter on there, it could draw, let's say, 2 to 10 amps, and that's going to be it. And it's not going to trip the breaker. Okay. But if you drove a ground rod, and you ran 120 volts to it, and you turn on a breaker, and you put the amp meter on there, how many of you guys have done that? Switch over there to these guys here. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
40 amps.
Ryan, did you do it? Have you done it?
Yeah. 40 amps.
And I don't want to talk about your 40 amps.
Right.
And we're not even going to go with your 40 amps. So, Brian,
Yeah.
how many amps did yours draw?
Less than an amp.
Less than an amp.
50 feet of ground rod.
Ryan?
Oh, I don't remember what the reading
Okay.
was.
But it was a number.
It wasn't, yeah.
But-
right.
I live in
No,
a
we're not going to get into Eric. We're not going to talk about your story.
Participation.
He's trying to participation, and I cut him off. Some of these guys you got to cut off in participation in your class, because I have a goal here. My point is this: when you can, you want to get the student engaged. Okay, you want to get them participating in some way. Have something fun to do. We're going to be doing a theory DVD, a whole new theory program, and the plan is next January, and it is going to be you, the 3 guys, are going to be on there with 2 other experts that are top guys in the world from solar as well as manufacturers. And it's going to be the most amazing class we've ever taught, or the most class we've ever even seen. And it's going to have so many experiments that we're going to do in the class that it's going to be like, that's how you can describe something. That's how you can understand something. That's how you can feel something. That's how you're participating. And we want to do that so that the students then, this program can go to the schools, and the schools can have the students do this. So we'll move on. Participation. Student participation feeds information about the student to the instructor. As a matter of fact, right here, you can't see this, but on my right-hand side is a young man, Ryan Mace, and Ryan came yesterday morning just as a guest. Brian House, his friend, which is my coach in mountain biking, his son, he's now actually using the camera. Okay? Now, Ryan, you're not mic'd up, but do you feel more engaged? Do you feel that you're learning a lot more than somebody telling you how this works?
Yeah, I do.
And that's what we're talking about. Somehow figure out a way to get people engaged a little bit. And I don't know what's going to happen here, but it's a possibility. 16-year-old young boy comes over here. He's interested to some level. He's participating. And we don't know. Maybe we'll start using him and get rid of Bruce, who's been with me since he was 18 years old. And I kind of got, a brand new kind of crew here or something like that. We don't know what's going to go on. I'm just being facetious there because Bruce is amazing, been with me for so many years. My point is this: we've got him engaged. There's a good chance that he's going to stay involved in this industry because he's participating as opposed to just sitting there. So figure out ways to get that student challenged. Move on. The participation from the student gives the instructor the feedback. Okay, I see they're having a problem with that. Sometimes it happens when students are talking in the class, asking questions. Just asking a question can show you, well, you didn't do a very good job, right, Eric? I mean, obviously, the way that question was asked. Now, if a question is being asked before you taught it, then you say, listen, I tell you what, hold on. Let me teach that. I'm going to get to that. You got to be careful because sometimes we need to add this in the textbook. Sometimes somebody will ask a question and the instructor's not aware and he's excited, especially if that's like his button. He asks the question. The guy now gets involved with that one person giving the guy the answer inside here. And so many other people are confused because they don't even understand the question. They don't understand what the answer is. They never taught that. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that when you're answering questions that you identify, I haven't taught that yet. So we're not answering questions that you haven't been taught. We're going to get that at another time. But once you taught it, now they're asking you a question. You're like, wow. You'll get that at break times, like, okay, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. So that's the feedback coming back to you, is questions is a way of them participating, helping you understand how good of a job are you doing and what's difficult for them. Student feedback helps the instructor know if the class objectives are being met. That comes from questions, that comes from body language, that comes from evaluations. Any way you can get people to give you information, whether you like it or not, and I don't like it, but I need it, then that's what we're looking for. Get them engaged, get them involved. Take a look right here. Look at the face right here. Let me kind of get my little thing here. Oh, get my little pointer. Oh yeah, I got to go here and I got to pick felt pen. Look at this guy right here. He's engaged. He's smiling. He's having a good time. He's a professional person. Okay, so I'm looking at the body language. You were talking about, Brian, you were talking about, sometimes guys have a need to stand up. Look at these guys back here. They're standing up in the back of the class. It's okay, because they're kind of static, right? They're tactile. They need to kind of move around a little bit there. I'm keeping them. Now, they're clapping. I'm not sure exactly what the scenario is here. Maybe I had somebody on stage because I brought somebody to the class. From the class, they got up on stage, and the guy just did something that they really took something out of what was said. And so they're applauding, not to me, obviously, but they're applauding to him that, hey, that was good stuff. So guess what happens? They're all engaged. I mean, you can't even see one face, not one person. Well, maybe this one guy right here. Yeah, this one. Now, if we were going to look for a skeptic or a confrontational person, right, body language-wise, or he could be what? He could just, the picture, the instant of a photo doesn't always, maybe he looked down.
Or he's an auditory
Or
learner.
he's in deep thought.
Oh, an auditory learner.
He's got his eyes closed because all this is distracting him. Everything is just too much, and he's trying to just ingest whatever happened.
Beautiful. Perfect. Continuing on, make student participation easy. Make it fun. Be a cheerleader. Be open to suggestions. Clearly, when you come to my seminar, people are giving us feedback. Again, we had a large venue, so hey, it's a little cold in the room. Hey, you guys are running low on the coffee. Hey, that sound system is this, that. Hey, the bathroom is kind of dirty. Hey, we're out of toilet paper. Hey, can you do this? Is there a way that you can have this? In other words, they're always asking us and giving us comments. Our staff is right on it. There was one time we did a seminar, and the projectors in the morning were not, the seminar was larger than normal, so we had larger screens, but the projectors they no longer were good for what we were accomplishing. That morning, I got there 8 o'clock in the morning, did not like it. Yeah, new screens, great, but now the image is not as sharp. By lunchtime, we got 2 projectors. I think it cost me like $15,000 that morning. Got them in, and at lunchtime for the next remaining day and a half, boom, we were gone. Because I'm getting the feedback from them. I'm open to suggestions. So people are like, they're on top of it. Hey, you know what? If you did this, if you did that, if you do this, if you do that, so make yourself available. Like, that's a good idea. We tried this morning setting up the different projectors and trying to work off the different computers, and we tried and it didn't work out. So try to suggest. Make people say, hey guys, you got any ideas how we can do this better? Let me know, because then they're part of the team. See, this is a team effort here. Now, you're leading it, but you're still part of the team. You're not like separate from them. You can't have 100% participation, and maybe we are, but we don't realize it. Their eyes are closed, you look in the body language, and they're participating at some level. So, you have to recognize, okay, because sometimes we're focusing on the 1 or 2 people in the class, and you're getting a little frustrated with them, or you're getting disappointed with yourself. What can I possibly do to get this person engaged? My gosh. And you're kind of beating yourself up. Recognize, listen, you prepared. You're doing the best you can. You're a great instructor. And we don't know what's going on in their life, and you just have to let that one go. Don't beat yourself up. Oh, Ryan?
You've also got to consider the size of the class too, as it relates to participation. If you could go back, well, you don't have to go back, but when you're teaching a large group, if you've got 400 people, you're not going to get very many questions. You're not going to get as many. Because now for a person to ask a question, they're public speaking, you know, if they want to ask a question. So even if they want to ask a question, a lot of people
We're going to
simply
get into
aren't
that part a little
willing
later
to
on.
do it.
We're going to
Yeah.
get into that, and I want to bring that issue up when we get into about asking questions.
Okay.
We're going to have that soon. Continuing on, don't worry about the student who wants to take a little nap during the presentation. We talked about that. You know, there's medication, worked all night long, he's going through stress. You know, I'm not going to sit there and fight that.